Welcome to Math with Mrs. Seeley. If you're new to the channel, I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started with some ACT prep. The first question says, Cameron took 4 tests and his scores were as follows: 100, a 60, 80, and 30. Cameron took another test that was scored X. The mean score of the 5 tests he took is 72. What is the value of X? Recall that mean score is just another way of saying the average. There are 2 ways to work this problem. The first way is just to directly work it. It says that he had 100, he had a 60, he had an 80, he had a 30, and he had the last score, which is we don't know, X. If you want an average, you know that you add them all up, divide by the total, and that gives you the average of 72. And I can just solve this equation. If I was going to solve this equation, I'd want to get rid of that fraction first. So if that's a divide by 5, let's multiply both sides by 5 to get rid of that. Then if I total all of these up, that's 270 plus our unknown X equals 72 times 5 is going to be 360. Then you just simply subtract your 270 over and you get X is equal to 90. So he needs to make a 90. The other thing you can do is you can work backwards, and that's a great strategy for the ACT. So what I could do is I could total up all of these scores right here and see that again those are 270. So then I need to know which one of these people here with that 270 added up will give me an average of 72. So I could say the 270 I already have, plus just go through those and let's get to the 90, add them up, divide by 5, and sure enough you get the average that you want. All right, let's take a look at the second question. In the Venn diagram below, circles S, C, and P represent farms raising sheep, cows, and pigs, respectively. How many of the 47 farms represented in the diagram do not raise cows? All right, so we want no cows. So this whole circle right here represents cows, and we don't want any of those. So anything that's in that circle with a C in it is not what we want. So we want 12 and 2 and 5. And if you add those together, you're going to get J, or 19, for your answer. Okay, let's take a look at question number 3. Question number 3 says, Marco designs a spinner wheel that has exactly 4 sections: red, blue, green, and yellow. He wants the spinner to have a 25% chance of landing on each section. He's going to spin the wheel 500 times, and the results are shown in this table right here. All right, if we're going to spin it 500 times and we want a 25%, which is a fourth basically, remember with a percent, you're going to move that decimal 2 places and you're going to multiply. So that means I need about 125 times per section, per color. Well, this one right here is spot on. He's good. And you know, green, that's pretty close too. 125 and 130 are pretty close, so he's good. These are the 2 that are out of balance, and here's the problem. He needs more red because he needs that to be closer to 125, and he needs less of the blue because that needs to come down closer to 125. So if I look at my answer choices, A says he should decrease the area of red. Well, we just said no, it needs to actually be increased. B, he should increase the area of red, yes, by decreasing the blue, and that is correct. That's what we said, increase red and less blue. Okay, let's take a question number 4. On number 4, it says we have a triangle, and it says A and C are congruent. Congruent is just another word for equal. And the measure of angle B is 143.6 degrees. So what's the measure of A? Well, you guys know that the 180 degrees in a triangle, that's the total degrees. So if I have a total of 180 degrees, I need to subtract off what B is. I know that one. If I subtract that, that's going to give me 36.4 degrees. But these two are equal. So divide it by the two equal ones, and you're going to get 18.2 degrees, which is answer F. All right, let's take a look at question number 5. On question 5, this is a factoring question. So I have x squared minus x minus 30. When you factor a trinomial, you want to multiply to get this, you want to multiply to get this, but you want to add to get that right there. So I'm going to put my two parentheses. The only things that multiply to get x squared are x and x. What multiplies to get 30, but can somehow add or subtract to get me 1 is 5 times 6. Look at your middleman. The bad guys need to win. So I need more negatives than I do positives. And so that's going to be answer C. Okay, question 6. This is a fast one here. It says, which of the following matrices is equal to 5 times this? Basically, you're just distributing the 5 to everybody. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. 5 times 2 is 10. And so we can see that it's clearly J. 5 times 0 and 5 times negative 5, which is going to be that answer. All right, let's take a look at number 7. All right, don't get intimidated by a question that has a little paragraph to read. I know it looks like it could be, but generally they're not too terrible. LaVon purchased some tickets and snack vouchers for an upcoming event and gave them to the members of her work group. Each member of her work group received the same number, it says. So we had the same number of tickets and the same number of snacks. So they're equal amounts to each. They're all the same. The total number of tickets she gave to her group was 30. And the total number of vouchers was 75. So which of the following could have been the number of people in her work group? Well, if there are equal amounts, that means there are no leftovers. So that also means that it would have divided into there evenly. So I need one of these numbers that divides into 30 and divides into 75 evenly with nothing left over, which is going to be 15. 15 is the only number of these that goes perfectly into 75 and goes perfectly into 30. All right, number 8. The initial speed in miles per hour of a certain car that skids to a stop can be estimated by multiplying the length of the skid. So we're going to multiply the length of the skid by 35, and then we're going to take the square root of that product. According to this method, what is the estimated initial speed in miles per hour of a car that makes 108 skid? So you're going to take 108, which is the skid, and then you're going to multiply it by 35. So it says multiply by 35. We did that. We took that second. So multiply those together and you get 3,780. And then third, it says take the square root. So if you take the square root of 3,780, you get 61.48. But notice that this is a decimal. My answers over here are in radical form. So what I'm simply going to do is take each one of these and change it into a decimal and see which one matches. For example, if I took the first one and I said the square root of 143, I'd get 11.95. Well, that's not this decimal, so that's not my answer. And I would just keep going until I found the right one, and it's going to be H. If you were to type in 6 times the square root of 105, you would get 61.48, and that's our answer. Okay, let's take a look at number 9. On number 9, they give you this expression, which this expression says you have 6y equals 5x minus 1. And they want to know what is x. So basically, they want x all by itself. So let's just do whatever we have to do to peel things away to solve for x. We would first add 1, add your 1 over. So I have 6y plus 1. Notice they're not like terms, so I'm not going to force them together. And then simply divide by 5. And when I divide by 5, I get my answer, which is answer D. Question number 10. A boat is traveling at a speed of 30 miles per hour. We want the boat's speed in feet per second. So we have miles per hour, and we need to change it into feet per second. So miles needs to turn into feet, and hours need to turn into seconds. So let's just write this out and kind of convert it. So you have 30 miles per 1 hour. That's what we have right now. We want to go to feet per second. So let's do the feet first. So we need miles to cancel. So therefore, if miles is in the top, we're going to put miles in the bottom so that they can cancel, just like that. So we would say feet on top, miles in the denominator, and it tells us 1 mile is 5,280 feet. All right, now that my miles have canceled, I'm in feet per hour. But we need to go to seconds. So we're going to do our time now. Hour is what we have, and we need that to cancel. So if hour's in the bottom, put hour in the top so that they can cancel. And I need seconds in the denominator. So then I have to decide how many seconds are in 1 hour. So 1 hour, well, think about it. There's 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute. So 60 times 60 is 3,600. So 3,600. All right, so my miles canceled out. My hours canceled out, and look what you're left with. You're left with feet on top per second. Now just simply go to your calculator and take 30 times 5,280 and get that answer, and then divide it by 3,600. And when you do, you will get H, or 44 feet per second. I hope you found this ACT prep helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check out other ACT prep videos. See you next time.